You're like a bad politician because you change depending on who you're talking to.
Rein me in there, Libby.
Let me paraphrase what I think you were trying to say. It's
Yeah.
not about what you want to tell people. Rushes outside and starts screaming, "Start the car! Start the car!" Like
Yes.
it's a
Okay.
getaway car. And as they're going away, it's like, whoa!
Is the message on your homepage what people need to hear? Today's episode is about strategy, creative strategy. It's about knowing who you're talking to and how to change their minds. Welcome to the KZ Show, an exploration of all things digital. I'm your host, Brent Kobayashi. Today I'm talking with Libby Lucas, our creative strategist at KZ, and she has an amazing technique to really get out what the messaging needs to be for a client. Maybe a way I would put it is what the client's client, our client, needs to hear in order to make up their mind to use our client. Libby, welcome.
You lost me. There were so many clients in there.
Okay, but so
All
so
right.
so that's cool.
Let me paraphrase.
Rein me in there, Libby.
Let me paraphrase what I think you were trying to say. It's not
Yeah.
about what you want to tell people, it's what people need to hear, what they need to believe, what they need to know, what they need to find out. And the only way to do that is to have a really coherent strategy and tailor it to the right audience and
Mhm.
express it in the right way, the right brand personality to make it all come together and work. So what I did was, like, this wasn't my technique. It was a briefing format that I borrowed from another advertising agency and adapted so it could work for any practitioner in marketing communications, from websites or sales sheets or ad campaigns on TV, radio, digital media, social media. I mean, like, whatever it is, by making sure that you have something simple enough to fit onto one page, because that's the key to the six
Mhm.
box brief. It's like everybody in your organization and outside, the people who are responsible for executing your messaging. Um, you can all be singing from the same songbook, because if the sales guy says one thing, your website says another, and your social media says another, you don't have a coherent, consistent brand character. You're like a bad politician because you change depending on who you're talking to, right?
So actually, a good politician only stays on message, jobs, 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 or whatever it is. But to me, every time I see one that you've put together, it feels kind of magical because it is brief. Tell me about the pain of it not being brief.
Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. Imagine you're a copywriter at a multinational ad agency working for one of the big consumer packaged goods clients. That was me. And it's a mega brand, and it's a new product launch with a new feature. I mean, it's
Hmm.
a line extension perhaps within that. And first of all, you get the macro brand strategy, which is single spaced, and that takes a page and a half. Then you get the subgroup within that, and that's another page. And then you have the mini brief on, hey, this is a new feature. So you end up with like 4 pages of single spaced copy. And what am I producing? A 30-second TV commercial that can have at most 72 words.
Hmm.
It's overkill and it's horrible. And everybody who participated on the client side in creating this magnificent brain dump on paper, they want
Hmm.
to see their stuff in there. They're not
Hmm.
parsing it. They're not owing any of the crap,
Hmm.
so that you can get to what really matters. At the top of any six box brief, the most important thing, well, in advertising or any kind of communications, is understanding who you're talking to. You realize that you can really only talk to one person at a time. Now, there could be,
Hmm.
that person may have some friends, relatives, or random people around them when you're talking to them, and they may have a need for exactly what you're talking about, but their reasons for needing it might be quite different. So what you do is you talk to the bullseye target, the guy in the foreground, and or which guy do you bring to the foreground? The guy with the message that can apply to more people.
I like that. So before we get into that, first of all, I want to give you know, copywriter Olivia a hug because because you're trying to do 72 words, right?
Mm.
And art and good graphic design and good communication is all about editing down.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there saying, okay, I need to edit down everybody else's brilliance because that's what they might think this has to go in. This is all very important. This is why they're giving you 4 pages into that. And so this is the first thing you start to get into is who am I speaking with?
Mm.
And I will say as a business owner, and I see this with all of our clients, they think they're speaking with everybody.
Yeah.
And you're just starting to get into you're not.
No, if you try to talk to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Because nobody's going to resonate with what you're saying because you're like, I don't know, you're generically talking to, I don't know.
Okay, so let me talk about the bullseye target a little bit more. Okay, imagine you're a tech company. That should be easy for you. And you're launching something like the new Apple 6500 or something, come up with some ridiculous number. And you want to know, who should I talk to? When you say, well, okay, like 85% of the market are blah, 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 and 32%. Okay, but are they also the early adopters? Because think about it. Most of us wait. We've been trained through experience and what we've read to wait for the first upgrade. Let the experimenters, let them experiment on the early adopters. And once they have fixed the bugs, then it's worth trying. Right. But if 85% of the market are the wait and seers, don't target them. Target the early adopter with just how sexy, cool, and fabulous it is, because they will be your unpaid salespeople spreading the word for you.
So in other words, don't spend all your money try to convincing people that they're not going to buy now. Don't target the general audience with your messaging. Don't target you. They're not going to buy from you anyways. All right. So Libby, you've mentioned 6-box brief a few times. I'm very familiar with it, but so 6-box. Well, we know what brief is. We've been talking very much what the brief part of it needs to be, but what's the 6-box part of it?
Yeah, it's the way we lay it out. Here's a look at the 6-box brief, an empty one with nothing in it, okay? At the top, you see there's the blank for the key persuadable audience, the bullseye audience, the one with the greatest potential ripple effect, if we can reach them. Not loyalists, not haters, persuadable skeptics.
Gotcha.
And then we go to the 6 boxes that you see there. That's why it's called the 6-box brief. But the key is on the left-hand side, you have a now column, and on the right-hand side, you have an after or future column. Because on the left-hand side, we're going to talk about what people are thinking and doing now. Then we're going to skip over and decide and define what we want them to be thinking and doing after exposure to our communications. And then we have to bridge the gap in the middle, starting with the main message at the top, which should be pretty much headline length, but it doesn't have to be written like a headline. Like the concept. What is it? What is it that you and only you are offering that is going to change their minds from now to future? And then in the box directly underneath, why the hell should they believe us? They've been lied to before. So if you make a claim, you have to have something underneath there. For example, if you say, if the word secure is being used in the top box in the middle in the main message, then there has to be something about end-to-end encryption, just like the banks use to make online banking safe. So that there. Now, what happens, and always breaks the hearts of the people who wrote the 8-page briefs, you leave a lot out because you have to. Nobody, wants an encyclopedic range of information. They just want a clear message that appeals to them emotionally and logically, and that you can prove it. It seems real. Yeah, okay. that can change your mind. There's something else that comes in here, and that is, who are you? What is your brand character? Because the same message can sound very different from two different people.
So people are thinking something, and because they're thinking that thing, they're doing something now. And then what we want them to do is do something, buy from us, whatever it is, right? Come to an event. And so we want them to do that. So in order for them to do that, what do they need to think to do that? So there's the thinking they're doing now,
Exactly.
the thinking and doing in the future, right? What do they need to think to do what we want them to do? And then those two boxes in the middle are sort of pulling people across, including, and as you said, it's brief because it's their thinking that you're working with. And I'm sorry, you're right. If you give somebody an encyclopedia, but the mushy middle typically is not sitting there going, you know what, I think I want to spend a day researching this. That's later on down the purchasing funnel. Did I get it?
Yes. The key thing is that beliefs drive behaviors. And if you haven't spent a ton of money on research to get to really understand the audience out there, so start with what you know. And that is, okay, they're walking right past my store and going into, or restaurant and going into that one. And then it is, well, what would they have to believe to do that? They must
Right.
believe this. And this is where it gets into, and this is where you start getting into feelings as well, because the 6-box brief, the way I like to have it, is it puts what people are thinking and feeling in quotation marks, instead of sounding all very corporate about, well, they believe this. No, just say, oh, all politicians are crooks,
Right.
or whatever they would say. Put it in quotes, put it in their
thinking.
language.
It's their thoughts. It's like this.
Yeah. It's their think bubble. Give us their think bubbles that support their actions. Because really, the one box in the 6-box brief that you automatically know how to fill out is what you want them to do afterwards. Everybody knows that one.
Right.
So skip to, what are they doing now instead? That's where you really start.
Number one. Okay.
Then you do, okay, what must they believe? And then what do we want them to believe? What must they believe to go from believing that to believing this in order to do this, which is what we want them to do? It's like a headline in an ad. 80% of your effort is spent trying to come up with the shortest way of saying something appealing that's going to sell your product or service or change people's minds. And the copy, which can be that much, should be good and long. That takes like 20% of the time. It's nothing. It's coming up with a short part. That's the killer. And then you move on to something that's really important, and that is the brand character. And I've looked at so many pointless briefs from clients that just list a whole litany of adjectives. Oh, friendly, approachable. What? Would the brand character ever be unfriendly and unapproachable? Come on, turn it into a person. If this were a person, who would they be? Are they your older sister who knows this stuff and you trust her? Are they your dad who's done lots of renovations over the years and he can advise you and he's got your back? Is it the authoritative guy who blah blah blah, whatever it is? You know what? One of the best illustrations of the difference that getting the brand character right is you can have two companies vastly different and give them the exact same main message. Prices so low, they're a steal. Okay, price is so low, they're a steal. Now, if you took Bad Boy, they're very brash. They'll scream. Prices so low, they're
a steal. Yeah, they should lock us up. Yeah.
So that's one way. That's brash and that's low end. And on the other side, you've got ever so self-deprecating, tongue-in-cheek, humorous IKEA with their famous, one sale a year sale, the big sale of the year, where in the TV commercial, every woman gets to the cash register, looks at the cash slip, and looks around clearly thinking, this can't be right.
Mm.
But does she say anything? No. She
Mm.
rushes outside and starts screaming, start the car, start the car. Like
Yes,
the
okay.
getaway car. And as they're going away, it's like, whoa, same damn strategy.
Mm.
Price is so low, they're a steal. She mistook it for being vastly undercharged. No, that was a sale.
Right.
So that's what I mean about get the brand character right. I've got one based on a real client from several years ago, but I've anonymized it. Uh, they were going to be the first people to introduce a hot yoga studio to the Bolton area. And in discussions with the co owners, we discovered that their key audience were body conscious young women, ages 18 to 34, who live, work, or go to school in the Bolton area, are interested in yoga or fitness, and can afford to sign up. That was the audience because if you talk to them, they were also the bullseye. If you have something for them, they will tell others and they can have that ripple effect. So let's start in the bottom left of the 6-box brief, what our target does now. They either take yoga or fitness classes or they're interested in doing so. That was pretty vague because we really didn't know anything other than the two options. But what our target believes now, we were very clear of because there had been an awful lot of hype about hot yoga when it first came out. All the celebrities in Hollywood seemed to be doing it. But then when hot yoga studios opened up across North America, people were dropping like flies in the heat. They couldn't stick with it. So the number one thing that's on their mind and what they believe is, I've heard about hot yoga. It's all the rage in Hollywood. It's supposed to be good for warming and stretching your muscles. But I've heard that the heat is really hard to take and the classes are really long. It's not for me. So, what we want our target to do is not read an ad or get something in the mail and immediately sign up. No, let's be realistic. We want them to come in for a tour of the facilities and see the place for themselves and sign up for a free class before deciding if Studio 35's hot yoga approach is for them. So, in order to get them through the door, they would have to believe that Studio 35 hot yoga isn't extreme. Only Studio 35 gives you all the benefits of hot yoga without the extreme heat or extra long classes of conventional yoga. When they decided that they were going to open a hot yoga studio, they researched it themselves and said, it doesn't, you get the same benefits if it's just below body temperature versus, going above body temperature. And you don't have people fainting. So right down here, why he or she should believe us. At Studio 35, hot yoga is practiced at 35 degrees Celsius, not 40.6 degrees. So it's easier on your body. And Studio 35 offers 45-minute and 60-minute hot yoga classes, as well as traditional 90-minute classes. So it's more convenient. And you can progress from shorter classes to longer ones. Despite the more moderate temperatures, you'll still get all the benefits of hot yoga. So anyway, down here, what was the tone and manner? The older sister you like and trust. She's smart, she's fun, she's commonsensical with a sense of humor, and she gives you advice worth listening to. The mandatories, this we always throw in because there's nothing more annoying than getting something to work perfectly and then having to change it because you've got to make room for a street address and landmark or a call to action partner logo that you weren't expecting. So get all the mandatories in there up front on the 6-box brief. That was a very simpler than most of the ones that we do these days. The other thing is, it not only gives people direction, but it gives them something that creative that you come up with can be measured against, which weeds out a whole lot of unnecessary rework because it weeds out unnecessary subjectivity.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an important early step, and that is alignment. You have to have internal alignment on the 6-box brief.
Mm.
I've always done sessions with senior managements in companies, as well as their marketing people and their sales people and their customer relations people. You get like the different departments working with you, trying to fill out a 6-box brief on the wall and it takes forever. And there's a lot of conversation back and forth. And people will say, "Oh, got to put that in." I said, "Well, but that has nothing to do with what they're thinking now. It's not the opposite of it. It's tagged on. We don't need
Mm.
that, or we need to have a new belief over there." So decision makers, let's put it that way. You have to get the alignment of decision makers,
Mm.
because if you don't, then you will have that subjectivity and they won't feel bound by it. But if they
Mm.
feel and have in fact been architects of the strategy, they're going to be batting off people who are, trying to skirt around what the strategic
Mm.
imperatives are.
Yeah, and that's one of the brilliance of a brief. It's not, are you aligned with this deck,
Mm-hmm.
4 pages, single type? You
Yeah.
can't become aligned with that. There's too much information there. It's a knowledge base. It's,
Yeah.
are you aligned with belief, do, belief,
Yeah.
right?
The young guy in the department, comes in with a new piece of creative that they want approval on. The
Mm.
fact that you've got it there sets up expectations on both sides. The person coming in with the creative knows that it's got to be on strategy, and the people who are judging the creative know it has to be on strategy, and that they have to just judge it on those merits. Is it on strategy?
Right.
I mean, be talking about advertising, but we shouldn't just be talking about advertising. We should be talking about the way that anything, including the homepage on your website,
Mm.
has to follow a six-box brief. If that is the strategy for the whole
Yeah.
company and for what you're doing, that should be reflected on the
Okay.
homepage.
So last episode we were talking about extending the life of a website. Like, do
Yeah.
you extend the website life? Do you do this? And one of the first things that I would say, if you've got a really good message, you've got a really good, that's one of the first things I'd want to change. The rest of the website could be crap and falling apart and the blogs have missing images and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter.
But if the appeal
If
is
you've
right
got
at the
that
right time,
appeal.
yeah.
Exactly.
If they're
Exactly.
saying what I need to hear, I'm listening. I mean, it doesn't matter how pretty you make it. If it's the wrong message, it's like, yeah.
I mean, if I were to put a summary on the 6 box brief, let me know if I've got it, Libby. The 6 box brief helps you do the right thing right. Yeah, because you can do the right thing wrong and you can do the wrong thing right. Of course, you can do wrong too. So you can do all of that, but you really want right. Because the right thing wrong is terrible. And the wrong thing right is probably even worse.
Because you've just spent a lot of money doing the wrong thing impeccably.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah,
waste
it's
of
like,
time, money, and energy.
perfect. Yes.
What a waste of talent. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There are four things you can do: the wrong thing wrong, the wrong thing right, the right thing wrong. In other words, good idea, but horrible execution, and
Yeah.
doing the right thing right. Yeah, love that.
Yes, so I do love it. I wish more of our clients would use this, the 6 box brief. Some do, and I'm such a passionate advocate for it. Anybody who's watching this, do something like this. You can have a lot of brand frameworks, and you can spend a lot of time on brand strategy. And I've seen some complicated ones, and cool. They have their purposes. This is probably, in my opinion, all you need to do to get going and get moving, and then you can layer on other stuff. Simplicity really, really is valuable here. All right, but we're out of time. That's it for now. Thank you, Libby, for joining us on the KZ show.
My pleasure.
Yeah. See you next time.